Hey there, Collective. This is Seven Scorpion Tarot, and I want to welcome you to tonight's reading. So, tonight we've got another channel message, this time from Khepri. And Khepri is one of the three forms of the Egyptian god Ra. He's the morning sun, whereas Ra is the midday sun, and Atum is the evening sun. Uh, yeah, I had just been getting walloped over the head with just imagery and whatnot of Khepri popping up in my feeds, and he's not a deity that I look into. So I wanted to get a little bit deeper into this and see, what's trying to come through. And there was a song that came up, the House of the Rising Sun. That's another like kind of in conjunction with this imagery of Khepri. This song keeps coming up, and there's actually several versions of it. It's been covered so many times. So the original one is by the Animals, and then a couple of the covers that I like are Jeremy Renner and Five Finger Death Punch. I really enjoy those. But it's a cautionary tale about the downfall after sin. And I mean, you can take sin to be whatever it means to you, how that's, if it's a vice, unhealthy patterns, etc., it doesn't need to be limited to exclusively like the seven deadly sins. It's however you apply that. And so I did some meditating, some additional meditation on this, trying to get a little further into it, and got a visual of Apophis or Apep, however you want to say that. And he showed up in a dark pyramid lit up with candles and had gold eyes with an open doorway behind him on the left, where like I could see sunlight coming through. Uh, and it was just an intuitive knowing that this was inside of a pyramid. Like there's no I could actually tell from the visual that that's where I was, but I don't know, it just like it felt like it. So something about being confined and there's still one more obstacle to escaping. Uh was that Finding Dory? I feel like she said something like escape or something like that. That just popped in my head. Uh but it's like there's one more layer of chaos standing in between you and whatever's next. And so I wanted to do a 3 card spread on what are we rising or resurrecting from. And the first one on the left here will be for a tomb, starting with the evening sun. So kind of going in an unusual order. But starting with a tomb, the evening sun, that's the death phase of Ra's cycle throughout the day, and that'll represent the sin. And then in the middle, this will be for Khepri, for the morning sun, and this is the rebirth and the method of redemption, like how we're getting through this chaos or the chaos that we're coming from. And then the third card will be for Ra, the midday sun, and that'll be for life and glory. So what's the reward? So let's get into it and get some cards. And the sin doesn't quite match the hero's journey exactly, but that redemption and glory, like the reward, is the stage that I'm thinking of. So a card for the sin. This could be something we've already overcome and are still maybe trying to move past. Is the the past has a way of catching up with us. And since this is also in the evening sun or the death position, this could also be a transformation we are finishing out. Like we're getting to the last stage. Because the death stage is really the beginning stage of those transformations. And I've always been more familiar with Ra than Khepri or Atum. But Atum is a creator god, and he created himself. And there's a few variations of that myth, but he was the first. And so he is both him and Ra and Khepri, that being of threeness. I would consider them a supreme being, like how you can look at the Morrigan and like Elohim, Yahweh, like having that. Um, well, that I don't know if I'm representing Elohim correctly, actually, but beings that have that threeness can often fall into the supreme deity, supreme being category. But we got 3 cards that popped out right as I said the Morrigan. So 3 of Pentacles, Knight of Wands, and 6 of Swords, all in reverse. The Sin. Refusing to leave a situation, or a situation that has gone on too long, that has to do with teamwork. So this could have something to do with work in the material realm. And the messenger of ideas. Not feeling like your ideas or voice are being represented or being heard or being delivered. Um, However you want to take that. Hmm. So maybe you struggle with, and this is something I know I struggle with, staying in situations well past their end. Uh, and you can't always leave a situation right away once you realize it's bad for you. I don't know, but once you've made that decision or come to that realization that this situation is no longer viable, then you have to move forward, like whatever that looks like. And maybe since the knight is the messenger, maybe you're just not getting the message. Uh, I can be thick-headed. I get it. And it's hard, especially if you're dealing with pentacles or you're in a living situation that you can't leave right away. You can still work on emotionally detaching from it and making a plan, an exit plan, and having an exit strategy, especially if it's not a good relationship. Uh, that you might need to do under the radar, depending on what you're going through. And if it's a work situation too, you might want to start looking for other things under the radar. Like just not to, rock the boat, the 6 of Swords, because it things can get like, I don't know, out of hand once people know that you're looking, even if it's like on both sides of the table, both people are unhappy. I don't know. But I'll start shuffling for the morning sun for Khepri. So this is the rebirth or method of redemption. So how do we get out of this long-standing, overstayed its welcome situation in our life? And of course, since this is a message from Khepri, I had to go with the Egyptian tarot. But so those three phases of Ra, like you start at Khepri, and then the midday sun is Ra, and then Atum, and then overnight is when Ra goes on his barge through the underworld into the Duat, and that's where he encounters Apophis every night. And so I thought that was interesting that Apophis came through in meditation, uh, and obstructing the exit over the left. And to me, like, and many people will say, the left side is the feminine side and the right side is masculine. I think that comes from, most people having a dominant right hand. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going with that interpretation for this door with sunlight coming through being on the left. Like if snakes had shoulders, it would have been over his left shoulder. And so this exit, I don't think it's something that needs to be forced. Something that's approached more with that yin energy. And it seems weird to me, at least, like being in receptive energy for an exit. Maybe that just means being open to possibility of whatever is next. So I think there's a Rumi quote poem that he had said, the path forms as you walk it, something like that. And no mention of like bringing tools to carve a path. It's just about walking the path. And so maybe a gentler approach, whereas in the past maybe we're more of a head on, like take charge, take no prisoners, so on and so forth. And not saying that's a bad thing, but maybe for this situation is a little more like look for your opening. It'll present itself. So a card for rebirth. Oop, there we go. Another knight. The Knight of Chalices, reversed. I want to see what the book says. It says very brief, well, booklet. Book is generous, but very brief uh, descriptions. I like it. The Envoy of Nephthys, close friend, lover, gift. So you could look at this a couple ways. This could be a shadow expression. This could also be blocked energy. Hmm. Maybe you're going to turn down something you never thought you'd turn down, or someone. since this is chalices, this is cups. This could also be a false offer, and seeing through that is a form of redemption. Get another card, a clarifier. What is this messenger of emotions about? Maybe someone from your past is coming forward, or someone that feels really similar to something in your past. Like this is the lesson will repeat itself until you learn it sort of deal. And since it's Knight of Cups, I am inclined to think that's a person, someone really charming, trying to make you some kind of offer. Or is this an emotional plea that, like, someone knows the path to redemption, but it's false? Like there's something fake about it, like emotional manipulation, uh, future faking. That's come up a couple of times in recent readings. The concept of future faking, and in a progression of the sun, that kind of makes sense because there's a timing element to it. One clarifier, please. I don't want to flip. There we go. Oof. 5 of Wands. Conflict. So somebody you have or had a conflict with making some sort of false offer. Like oh, and maybe this is an Aquarius, because this looks like the Aquarius symbol. And maybe you have prominent Aquarius placements in your chart, either way. And you could even get a little bit more abstract with that you need to embody Aquarius energy. That the Aquarius is the innovator, the humanitarian. Something about a different approach than what you would normally take will be that path to redemption. And this also could be conflict based on you sticking to your values. That when you stick to your values or your boundaries, however that materializes, someone's going to do the emotional blackmail thing. Like oh, well, if you loved me, you'd answer your phone every second of the day, like even if you're sleeping. No. Boundaries. And boundaries, as we all know, are very, very healthy because they say this is where you end and I begin. Like we are separate humans. I think that probably mostly applies in like a narcissistic relationship dynamic. That enmeshment. I'll start shuffling for the raw position. Midday sun, glory, life. So after we get through this conflict, this emotionally charged conflict, what is the glory? And in Egyptian terms, that would be like the field of reeds. So whatever that looks like for you, that is, the midday sun, that's the sun, it's in all of its glory and its apex. What's that look like? And Khepri uh, is a scarab beetle, and they were used to represent the cycle of the sun, based on dung beetles. Rolling the balls across the ground looks a lot like the sun going across the horizon. And Ra, I'm definitely a lot more familiar with his myths. I don't know if he's necessarily more popular. I might, fair a bet and say that he is in the Egyptian pantheon, but he has that myth where he had become displeased with humanity and and wanted to come out and doing it. uh, Displeased with humanity. Okay. And in response to that displeasure, he tore out his right eye and threw it to the ground, and that is Sekhmet. And she went on a rampage, and he was so horrified with what she was doing. Um, she was only given one glass, I think. It could have been more. But beer that had been dyed the color of blood so that she would drink it and become drunk and fall asleep, which she did. And then she became Hathor, her more, what word, what adjective am I looking for? Calmer expression of Sekhmet and Hathor, the seven Hathors. But it's the Seven of Cups here that came out sideways. So I'm going to take that as in motion. And so, Seven of Cups, that's actually also my Naberius card, if anybody's familiar with Galatia. And so, starting to transcend uh, pantheons, that could be a message in and of itself. That, that reference is more in regards to, uh, I think it would fall under like Jewish mysticism, because I don't remember exactly which book it would fall under. But I know the Goetia are the 72 lesser keys of Solomon. And Seven of Cups, that is associated to Naberius. Not quite sure how that came to be, that information came to be, but Naberius also goes by uh, Cerberus. And there is some conflation with the Greek three-headed god, and Naberius being a three-headed demon also shows up as a crow sometimes. And since this is about illusion and choice, whichever way you want to look at it, that does tell me we're moving into a new phase. But you can't see what's in any of these cups. It's on pure instinct. So trust yourself is what just popped in my head. Uh, and I don't know, maybe you're going into some sort of leadership role, because Naberius got 19 legions under his command. That's quite a bit of leadership. But in the seven Hathors too, and her pairing with the aspects of Sekhmet, like knowing when to be diplomatic and when to use teeth, and knowing which aspect to bring to the table. That's a really important choice for a leader, of knowing when to reel it in and knowing when to let it out, because there are appropriate times for both. Uh, I think particularly for women, there's an investment that we're over-regulated, that we are not expressing normal emotions in normal situations, like frustration when something frustrating happens. Go figure. Can't imagine why. That would be the chain of events. So maybe a new era, whether that's in your life, in, well, yeah, I think that is it, because at the beginning we were talking about being unable to leave a situation behind. So this is some sort of new era that you're headed towards. And you don't necessarily have to do anything with the Goetia for that to happen, but like think of it in terms of Exodus, that transition from Pharaoh's rule to, the parting of the Red Sea, Moses leading them out, to the tabernacle, and eventually the construction of the Temple of Solomon. And so it's like a changing of the guard. It, I don't know if that's right, but what came to mind. But something drastically different. And since this came out in the raw position, the sun god, the king. I mean, he's not Horus, but he's like the king of the gods, like Zeus. That's a big transition, whatever is upcoming. We'll get a moonology card for some underlying. Hi, kitten. You already had chicken. I already gave you chicken. And that was uh, a significant transition, in Exodus. Maybe it's a good time to rewatch The Prince of Egypt. Excellent movie. And there's the connection to tarot too, with Exodus and the Temple of Solomon. It's the pillars of cloud and fire are connected to the High Priestess card. And there's a connection to the Freemasons as well. So there's a lot. There's a big web of possibilities, and Seven of Cups. So many things to choose from, and it's your life. You're the one that has to make the decision on what's right for you. It might not make sense from the outside, from onlookers who can't see what's in those cups, who can't feel what you feel. And like we had talked about, when you figure out something's not good for you, you can't always leave right away. So just like have a plan, engage in choices responsibly. Confidence is the key to your success. New moon in Leo. I think that's very fitting. And 7, Leo season, so maybe something in July is that's going to be the timing. I don't think we have any eclipses or anything right around then. And confidence, not like reckless abandon. There's a difference between those two states of being. Uh, but maybe consider what held you in these situations in the past of why did you stay so long, and that want to approach that delicately, like totally understand not being able to move out from a bad situation when you need to, but it's just establishing the why. Like, was I without resources? What was I being gaslit? Was I being future faked? uh Whatever the case may be. And if someone's trying to emotionally blackmail you, that situation's done. Just in my personal opinion, kind of beyond the point of redemption, because that's I don't know, that's a tough one. If that's going on in the relationship, that person who's doing it really has to commit to change, for not guilt tripping, emotional blackmail, stuff like that. But yeah, yeah. And then that leads to a choice. And even when you're making the right choice, whether that's for you, oop, okay, it's the ethical choice, it might still hurt. Like, doing the right thing doesn't necessarily mean it feels good. But listening to Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden, and taking a lava shower whilst listening to Sleep Token, that does feel good. I have done that. Highly recommend. And the way I define lava showers are, I just crank my hot water all the way up, and I cook my back. And I like to have one of those little like shower, like perfume things you just put it in the bottom and it releases the essential oils and whatnot. So hot water as much as you can tolerate safely, of course, because that can make you woozy. And uh, smelly good stuff to make your shower experience more enjoyable. And Take Me Back to Eden, either the song or the entire album. And if you're taking a lava shower, I think you should take your time. I think you should enjoy yourself. And overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.